Good afternoon, everyone. This is our monthly speaker meeting for Pro-Organic Beliefs and our first one for 2023. Our speaker today is John Arana, and the title of his presentation, as you'll see on the screen, is The Retrieval of Smallholder Farms and Home Gardens, which I think is going to be very appropriate for this day and age. When more of us are trying to kind of get back to roots and grow what we need and share with others and all that, and what can be done here in Belize with that. So just a couple of ground rules. Basically, if everybody can stay muted, because the presentation is being recorded. So as we all know, it does pick up every little dog bark and everything in the background. So if you'll just please keep yourself muted. And then John will do his presentation, and then we'll do questions and answers at the end of the presentation. And he would like for everybody to submit your questions in the chat option of Zoom, and you can send the question to everyone. That way everybody can see the questions, and then either he or I will read the question after he's done, and he'll give us an answer. So you can go ahead and, jot down your questions as they come up, but just put them in the chat session. And anyone who doesn't know about Pro-Organic Beliefs, there's a couple of places you can find out all kinds of information about us. One of them would be our Facebook page for Pro-Organic Beliefs details about the organization. And then we use our Facebook group for discussion. So you can go to either of those or both and find out more information about us. And then our website, which is kept up by Karen, does an incredible job of that, has tons of information for you. If you go to pro-organicbeliefs.org, and you'll see information about what we're doing. Also, you'll see how to join Pro-Organic Beliefs for this year, for 2023. And we collect dues. They're $25 for a whole year, and we collect them in the beginning of the year, and that's good for and through December 31st of that year. You can see how to do that on the website. Another great opportunity on the website is to go back and be able to view all of our speaker meetings that have been done via Zoom, which has been for the last couple of years now. So you can go to the website, and there's a spot on there that has speakers. On that, and you can pick which one you want to watch, because they've all been recorded. So you can gather a wealth of information by doing that. Just pick what interests you the most to start with. And then we also have our Pro-Organic Beliefs consumer group. More details on our website about pesticide-free produce and how to get in on the weekly list for ordering that. Basically, a list is sent out on Tuesday and Wednesdays, and you have until Wednesday night to order. And you put in your order directly to the farmers via email. And then on Friday mornings at Hodie's in San Ignacio or in Belmopon, then you can pick up what you've ordered for that week. So it's a great opportunity to, help the farmer and also get nice, clean produce. So, okay. That's all I've got for Pro-Organic for right now. And I will stop sharing my screen and turn it over to John. So take it away, John.
Just a second. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. Happy New Year. And it's a pleasure to be here among the Pro-Organic community. My name is John Arana, and I am involved in subsistence farming. We have a small family farm where we have been collecting plants and we have a collection of about 50 or so different varieties of plants. What motivated us to move in this direction was the observation of the use of pesticides and other chemicals on the produce that we consume on a regular basis. For example, this is a photograph of a banana field. It's a monoculture crop, and they're applying some sort of pesticides or fertilizer or some application there. Because of the way that it is produced, this leads to depletion of the soil and the microorganisms in the soil. And also there are some health effects associated with the use of chemicals and fertilizers. So we are trying to seek better ways of producing and getting food that is wholesome to us. When we look at poultry, for example, this is a sample of how the chickens are congregated in one location, and for chickens to stay alive in such conditions, they have to have antibiotics, they have to have different treatments for them to stay alive. So all of these are of concern, and so we discuss with like-minded people and we look for ways to reduce the use of antibiotics, to reduce the use of chemicals and other things that could affect our health. This is a food label for bread. This one is in the United States. So for the bread to last long on the shelf, there are several additives. I am pretty proficient with the English language, but some of these words I am unable to pronounce. And I am not certain what are the knock-on effects down the road when we consume these types of food or these types of items. So in many of the food that we eat, for example, in peanut butter, there are additives, there are preservatives in the juices, in the different drinks that we consume. So it is something for all of us to consider and for all of us to ask questions and be aware of what is it we put inside our bodies. So as a farmer in Belize, we can produce some of our own crops. Like we have prioritized cassava, coconut, mangoes, and breadfruit because they are versatile crops and can be used to reduce our dependence on wheat flour, for example. We participated in the importation of some breadfruit plants into Belize because we have the propagation of these plants is challenging. So through the tissue culture, we were able to bring in some plants in the country and distribute to about 80 farmers. Breadfruit is versatile, where we can utilize it for food, we can utilize it for craft, and there are some medicinal uses associated with breadfruit. We would have to read more about it and familiarize ourselves with the uses and what are the traditional uses that is done in, like, for example, Samoa and Tahiti, where the breadfruit is from. Cassava is also a very important crop, versatile crop that is drought resistant, that has several uses. We can use it for food, to make paper, to make fuel, to make animal feed, and for starch. So we had a collection of about, my dad was an agricultural extension officer, and he had a collection of about 16 varieties of cassava. Currently, we have 4, and we are building back the collection. The to maintain varieties and to classify your plants and to label your plants, it's a very time consuming, and it's an undertaking to mark your plants and to keep the varieties going. So the most likely scenario is for you to lose varieties. So some of what we can do is share varieties with our friends, with our neighbors, with our fellow farmers. And so that if you lose a particular variety, you could go back to the person who you gave it to and say, could I please get a cutting back? And that way, variety is key in survival of species. Like there are certain diseases that attack one variety that doesn't attack the other variety. So that is also a major concern with monoculture, where if the pest begins the march through the field and there's no variety, the one tree is the same as the other, then there will be damage for the whole field. So this, I got this from an African source, and they are in the process of utilizing cassava for various uses. Here, we mostly utilize it to, we extract the cassava and you make cassava bread, or we make, we just boil the cassava. But as this chart is showing, there are several uses that we can give the cassava. We can use it in the bakery, we can use it in the distillery, like Red Stripe in Jamaica utilizes some parts of the cassava for the production of their beer. Here in Belize, I'm not sure that we have reached there as yet. I think the brewery has begun utilizing like fever grass and mamey and different other Belizean crops to add to their beer. So the breadfruit, you can produce gari, you can produce bread, you can produce animal feed, you can produce ethanol. Ethanol is a key item with the cost of fuel at this time. Coconut is at the top of my list because of the versatility. If you have coconut, you have food and you have water. Also, it can be utilized to make arts and craft. This is a photo of taken in Thailand. I lived in Thailand for 2 years and visited a village where all the items are circulated around coconut. So they have arts and craft, they have coconut sugar, they have different items made with coconut, like this lampshade. So we don't see these items in Belize. So we need to import these ideas. We need to send our technicians to familiarize with what is being done in other countries and to see how we can add value to our products. Sorrel is another crop. Jamaica, they call it in Spanish, and this, we have like 3 varieties of sorrel. We have a black one, we have a a red fleshy one, and we have a thin red one. The dark one produces in November, one produces early December, and the thin one is producing around now. So sorrel has medicinal uses. It's good for the cardiovascular system. I am not a doctor, but the documentation is there for you to become more familiar of how this is used. I visited Merida recently in December, and just as how you have orange juice and lime juice, they have sorrel juice. And Merida has a population of about 300,000 people, and they have sorrel available quite readily. So it would be interesting to see the size of their operation that they have there. Soursop is another excellent plant that that we have planted. It's here in Belize. It's susceptible to diseases because of the rain and the ants that climb up the tree. And so we utilize a product made from madre cacao and neem that is made by Rebecca. And we utilize it on our soursop to keep away the ants and the aphids. What happens is that the aphids attract the ants, and when the ants crawl up the tree, they take fungus from the ground to the flower, and then your soursop becomes black, your soursop becomes infected. So here is a list. I did an inventory a while back, and here are some of the plants that we have collected over time. The heliconia, the dasheen, the turmeric, cinnamon, cacao. And so of those, we have prioritized about 5 of them: coconut, cassava, mangoes, breadfruit, and we recently added bamboo. Bamboo, we have to learn a lot about it, about treatment of bamboo, and about the versatility of it and how it is used. In Jamaica, they are advanced. In Thailand, they are advanced. In Guatemala, they have had some projects related to bamboo. So all of these items can be developed. The bukut planting, for example, in Thailand, there is a project called One Village, One Product. So if we equate that to Belize, like Crooked Tree has a lot of cashew. So we would support cashew in Crooked Tree. Barrel Boom has a lot of blackberry. We would support blackberry in Barrel Boom. Hopkins has a lot of mango. And then we have the Mango Fest. We have a tourism component related to those. So all of these are potential. Mangosteen is also a very delicious plant. It gets sunburned when it's young, and it takes a long time to grow, but it is very delicious. The list goes on. The inga, the gongo pea. Those in Jamaica consume a lot more ground food than us. So that reduces I guess that came about because of necessity also. They eat a lot of like bile, banana, and yams. And so I think those would be helpful to us. Busy is also a medicinal plant. Like they utilize it for when people have been poisoned. They utilize busy as to treat poisoning. Tangelo is another fruit where I have tasted lime, I've tasted orange, I've tasted grapefruit, but to me the taste of tangelo is better. So if our restaurants begin providing tangelo, if our farmers begin providing tangelo, then I believe that more people will consume it if they know it's available. So in this presentation, I looked for various sources on the internet. There are some good videos, and I will share. I've shared this presentation via email, so hopefully it will be able. You'll be able to share it, and if you're interested, look a little further, as it is all a learning process for us. It's a learning process for me. Like for example, recently I bought 10 rosemary plants, and I wasn't I didn't know much about the care. So I planted it in the ground and they died. The 4 that survived were those that I kept on my veranda, watering every 2 days. So it's a learning process, and I encourage you all to continue. If you don't have a farm, you can plant in your yard. If you don't have a big yard, you can plant in containers. Thanks very much. And we could have a discussion now around the questions.
Crystal Ray. So I know several people have sent some comments. I know Beth sent one to me asking, when you say in the very beginning, you said we,
Yes.
and to whom exactly are you referring when you say we?
Yes. We have it's my brothers and sisters. We have a big family. We have a basketball team and 2 cheerleaders. There are 5 boys and 2 girls. And it's rare to have female farmers of color. My sisters are planting. Yes.
Okay. And I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it, Hattie or Haiti Young said that this person wants a part of this, but needs to clear some land and has sent their phone number.
Yes,
So do you want to?
Well, we could discuss, we could chat a bit regarding it. I believe the a lot of the cost in the land clearing is the transportation, and so someone who is living closest to you would most likely be the best source. But you would have to talk to your neighbors and to find someone reliable. It's difficult to finding reliable persons is very difficult, but we can discuss. How would you recommend growing diverse crops in Belize and where? I believe that there's a diversity here, and we could build upon what already exists. So, like for example, Crooked Tree has cashew. So, organizing the people and incentivizing them as towards working together and improving the quality of the product, that would be a good step forward. On our farm, we have a Cocoon Ridge, and most crops grow there. But of course, there are persons more qualified than myself related to. I'm not an agronomist. I'm not a horticulturalist, but I have been involved in tree planting and in agriculture, and I've learned some things from my dad. So I wanted to clarify that I'm not a horticulturalist. I'm not a agronomist, or I'm not a doctor.
Go over again what you use to keep the ants away from the soursop.
Yes, Rebecca Heinrich makes a product that has in magic cacao and neem. It's like a soap. So it is like flakes, and we dilute it to the recommended dose, and we spray that on the base of the tree and on the fruit.
Okay, I didn't catch all of that. You spray the mixture on the tree
The
itself?
yes, the base of the tree to discourage the ants from climbing up the tree, because the ants is what takes the fungus up to the tree. There is also a wasp that affects soursop, so some people bag the soursop.
Ah, okay. And okay.
And
Huh.
for, let me see, best chopping or with bulldozer. Um, I recommend that you watch some video on permaculture about assessing your land, assessing the topography of your land. The bulldozer removes the topsoil. So we would encourage chopping, but it also depends on the size of land that you are doing and the brambles and so on. We have used some Maya methodology, the slash and burn at times, a limited on a limited scale. We are concerned about the environment. We are concerned about the damage that can happen to the soil. So some people do Inga alicropping, for example, where they plant Inga and then they plant under the Inga. So do a little research on Inga alicropping, do a little research on permaculture, and try to be as careful as possible with the land, with try not to disturb the soil so much.
Hmm. Yeah,
The,
and
the, the
Americans.
5 acres. Um, I have access to more than 5 acres. How would you best go about developing such an area? You start small. It depends on your budget. For example, I started by doing 100 feet by 100 feet. And then over a year or two, then I expanded that 100 feet by 100 feet to 200 feet by 100 feet. So you develop and hold, then you develop a little bit more and hold, but that depends on your budget also. The grass grows rather quickly here, and so every 3 weeks there has to be cleaning. But using permaculture, using agroforestry, there are ways of um, of surviving. Yes, using the land around the tree. So what's up? Taylor from TAF in Rancho Dolores advised us to try that. Keep ants off the source up. It worked fairly well. Yes, within the permaculture teachings, there is teachings about companion plants, about tree plant guilds, where you plant some flowers to attract the pollinators, you plant some other plants to act as repellents. And so, yes, I agree with the use of neem and magic cacao. Let's see. In addition to the wonderful fruit, I understand that your soursop leaf is medicinal. Can you comment on that? Yes, I recommend utilizing the book 100 Healing Plants of Belize. Soursop, we have found the tea to be like a relaxant to the nerves. So those who have difficulty sleeping could utilize soursop leaf tea. And also for the intestinal parasites and so on. How do you recommend fostering microorganisms? There is a product, there is EM, there is compost, there is the leaves, like when the leaves fall from the soursop, you leave the leaves to rot down, and those same the microorganism convert it, and the tree is able to take it up. I finally found some ripe sorrel fruit and have a few plants in the ground, but they are tiny plants. I would like to get some seeds or cuttings to keep going. Best organic fertilizer to use in soursop production, or the nutrients required by the tree. Yes, soursop is a very demanding plant, and so it needs some help. I recommend using your compost tea, like you could do your moringa and other leaves to the same soursop leaf to rot down, and you pour it on. Also the EM that is done by Mr. William Osher, EM for agriculture. All of these can help with your soursop. Greetings, Dylan. Are there any grants or small farm development? I am not certain. I believe that there were some grants or some assistance being given to groups through some projects at the Ministry of Agriculture. I am not, I believe that the group has to be a registered cooperative, and that's the project. There are certain projects that assist farming groups. I do not work with the project, so you would have to contact the project, contact the ministry for further information. That is more resistant to disease. Is there a variety of soursop that is more resistant to disease? I am not sure about that, but I imagine so. But we have limited genetic base, so we will have to grow a genetic base and also the studies around to try them out and to see which one grows best. You mentioned challenges with breadfruit. What, for instance? Yes, breadfruit is difficult to propagate because you propagate it by root cuttings, and when you dig out the root cuttings to transfer, many times it dies. So that was the challenge that I was speaking of. But what we have found is that to separate it from the mother plant, we cut on both sides and leave it there for like a month before we dig it out. Then we dig it out, and so the shock is less on the plant. And then also the root cuttings, it has to be a mature plant to send out root cuttings. So if you want 10 breadfruit tree, you have to wait several years to get 10. So that's why we we went the route of the importation. Do you know of any group making banana flour in the country? Yes, I've seen banana flour. I've seen banana flour in the Stan Creek area, I believe. The technology for making flour is pretty much the same, where you cut it as small as possible, you dry it, then you blend it and sieve it. You find any baby breadfruit on a giant breadfruit tree just waiting for someone to harvest these plants? Do you find any baby breadfruit on the giant breadfruit tree just waiting for someone to harvest these plants? Could you please elaborate, Beth?
Okay, yeah, no, I just meant like driving down the Hummingbird. Sometimes you just see, you know, right close to the road and this giant breadfruit trees that it looks like nobody harvests them. And then maybe they've got, you know, knee-high or thigh-high grass growing around them, just low bush. Do you
Yes.
find breadfruit, young breadfruit seedlings in there? Have you?
Yes, you can find the plant, but the thing is with the shock on the plant. If I see it on the roadside and I go and dig it out, it shocks the plant and it might die when I put it in the new location. So when we separate it from the mother, we cut on both sides and leave it there for a month. Then we dig it out. But for example, I had an opportunity to get one, and so I had to dig it out that same day, that same time. So I dig it out that same day and I put it in water. And then in water, it was able to survive that way. So it's trial and error and a learning process. So to reduce the shock, we leave it there for a month. But if you don't have the opportunity, you dig out the plant, put it immediately in water and reduce the amount of leaves, and then that increases your chances of survival.
In the wild or in places, you know, kind of really bushy places that aren't currently cultivated, say old homesteads, do you notice that breadfruit trees will naturally, you know, that they'll naturally have other trees that, and
yes, breadfruit is a tree that we say that the breadfruit walks. So it will have a mother plant, and 10 feet away or 20 feet away, there's another plant and there's another plant. Wherever the root is damaged, a small plant comes up. So, and then if you chop down a breadfruit tree, many breadfruit tree will come up. So it's a plant that is hard to get rid of and takes up a lot of space. So careful where you plant it. It needs big space.
yeah. What about?
And it walks. It walks.
Yeah. Okay. Another question. There's so many animals that like are bothering things like coconut, you know, squirrels and cacao, you know, squirrels and birds, and just it seems, I mean, and it just seems in the past 5 or 10 years that there's a lot more of that. I don't know if their natural habitat is being disturbed or it's just my perception that there's more problem. What are the animal, you know, what animals or critters would bother breadfruit as it's ripening on the tree?
Yes. Breadfruit does not have that many pests, but there are, I guess, like if you allow a lot of fruits to rot on the ground, then you will have a fruit fly situation. So it's orchard management. Also, I would have to go to the literature, but there are manuals for cultivation of breadfruit, and a chapter is dedicated to those. Every plant has its pests, but like breadfruit and cassava, they are pretty resilient.
Okay, thank you.
please advise where to get native seeds and plants that grow well in Belize. Yes, from your neighbor, from a group like this, you would have to communicate with the fellow farmers, and that's one of the better ways to grow your collection. Sharing with your neighbors, sharing with your fellow farmers. It's rare that a farmer will tell you no if you ask them, could I get 10 of these seeds? Or because, for example, if you look at a papaya, if you have one papaya fruit, how many seeds do you get from one papaya fruit? So ask your neighbor, ask those within the groups. And I believe there are some companies that are beginning to offer alternatives to these, to the companies that are producing some seeds that only produce once. Yes, banana flower is big in India. Yes, and also in Africa, there is a banana drink. So there are many avenues to explore and many opportunities going forward. With banana, with breadfruit, with plantain, with avocado, with crabo, for example, there is crabo that is in bottles and sold in the United States. Try to commercialize or engineer breadfruit. Not that I am aware of, not that I'm aware of. Breadfruit is neglected in many countries. They call it an NUS, neglected and underutilized species, I believe was the word. So, but in Jamaica, in Trinidad, in St. Vincent, some new things are happening with breadfruit, and I believe it's a good crop to have and to develop.
Just above that, there was a question from Russ about what plants can be planted and harvested within 6 months to a year.
Yes. For example, tomatoes grow pretty quickly. That's like 2 months. Cassava, you can harvest 8 to 12 months. So each crop has its season, but with agriculture, patience is key. Each plant will take its own time. For example, I had a star fruit. I've had it for about 6 years, and the wee every time it becomes bushy and beautiful, the wee eats it down. So I applied the neem to it, and this year it's holding fruit after about 7 years. So we cannot rush nature. Same thing with a tree, like a mahogany tree or a mango tree. Like many of the trees that my father planted are what I am harvesting now. So it takes time, and so much of what you are planting are for the next generation. But sesame, tomato, culantro, many of the fruits have a short. You would have to look at the package or read more about it or watch YouTube videos to find out the bearing season. Here, there's a Paraguayan cassava the older Mennonites have, for sure. That's 5 miles from St. Margaret. Some Mennonites brought to Belize from Paraguay, supposed to be low fiber, good for cooking, casseroles, etc. Well, that's interesting. That's interesting. We have a cassava. I think it's from Panama. There are 700 to 1,000 varieties of cassava, and so they have their properties. Some of them are easier to peel. Some of them become softer in the pod. Some of them have yellow flesh, and so cassava is a whole world of varieties. And so I'm not surprised that there is a variety that has these characteristics. It would be good to have it, for all of us to have it. Can I plant beans on the same ground as banana or plantain? I'm down in Stand Creek. I believe so. I believe so. Chaya kalaloo will grow well in a short time. Also beans like jack beans and banana. Yes, Dylan. Is this new? In terms of legume plants other than beans and magic cacao, what other trees found here in Belize? What other tree? Inga. Inga is a type of legume. Also, the gongo pea is a very versatile and hardy plant. It is used very much in and the lucena that Beth added to the chat just now. Yeah, so can we discuss animals? Currently, I don't have much animals, so I did not elaborate on that topic, but usually on a farm, there is a combination of plants and animals, and they work together where like the goats or the sheep would graze beneath the trees, and for example, concentrated chicken manure is poisonous or damaging to the soil, while dispersed chicken manure is a fertilizer. So instead of having like the photograph that I showed, if you could implement a system where the chickens are moved, and so you disperse the manure instead of concentrating, then it's a better situation. I guess Programming would have to invite another speaker to elaborate more on the animals. We do not have much of that because of the situation of caretaker and so on at the farm. We don't have responsible individuals. So animal husbandry requires someone on the farm. But the ideas about genetic diversity and so on still apply. Yes, chicken manure diluted, or in the compost and diluted, is nutritious, yes, for your plants. So I would like to encourage everyone present or everyone that views this video to continue their journey of planting and to help each other in developing.
And Mary sent a question about asking if you've grown pigeon peas.
Yes, we have grown pigeon peas. We call it, in Jamaica, they call it gongo peas. Yes, we have grown pigeon peas. We have red, orange, and white.
Does anyone have any other question for John? Oh, there's one more.
All right. Thank you very much, Mary. Thanks for attending. It was a pleasure to be here. Dylan, look for Joel Salatin's book on starting farming. There's a permaculture course on YouTube. There is week 1 to week 10. You could watch those videos and it is helpful. Joel Salatin, he is famous and a great way of putting things simply available on Amazon or at Acres USA website. Salatin is so humorous. The sheer.
The sheer ecstasy of being a lunatic farmer. I haven't read this one, but I've heard him speak, not in person, but he's a regular at the Acres USA Eco-Agricultural Conference that's in, it moves around Ohio, Pennsylvania, different places every December. Really incredible. That's the oldest, Acres USA is the oldest English language eco-agriculture magazine.
Okay.
You've heard of it?
No, I have not as yet.
I hadn't heard of it, and a reader for the Ag Report bought me a subscription about 12 years ago, and I've never stopped. And I went once to the conference and brought Ina Sanchez went with me. A couple of us put together and brought her, the head of research for ministry. And when we came back, that was when we started Regeneration Belize.
Okay.
Because we met the Regeneration International people there. But Acres USA is a great site. They have articles online, or you can subscribe and get the whole magazine.
Yes, and then there are farmers that are advanced. For example, Mark LMB, he
Oh, yeah.
has a collection of breadfruit. I don't know if he has written in the past. He has breadfruit, he has avocados, and he has bamboo.
Yeah, he's passionate about bamboo. Yeah, he's that TAF farm. It was his guy Taylor that had told us about put lard around the soursop trees, which worked.
Yes,
Kept the
yes.
ants off.
Anything that stops the ants, then
Yeah.
your soursop will be better.
Yeah, I don't know what it does to the tree if you keep putting it on all the time. I mean, you could suffocate, but you just put a ring to stop that they can't go up. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. On the screen, you can see that the Pro-Organic Belize next general meeting will be the 21st in 2 weeks from 3 to 5 via Zoom. And if you're interested in joining Pro-Organic Belize, you can go to our website, pro-organicbelize.org, or send an email to proorganicbelize@gmail.com. And same thing to send the email about the pesticide-free produce. And go to our website, like I said, to view any and all of the previous speaker meetings. And this one will also be posted there by early next week. And our next speakers meeting will be Saturday, February 4th at 3 o'clock. And the way it stands right now, it's going to be live and in person in the village of San Antonio. And I think probably done via Zoom also. Details to be worked out, but that's the plan. And our topic is going to be gardening in Belize, done by Dawn Dean, who's coming up from the Toledo district. So she's written a book about gardening in southern Belize. So she's going to share some of her expertise with our group. So please plan to attend that either in person or via Zoom. We'll send out details. Mary's trying to organize a little farm tour that morning and then have Dawn speak, live that afternoon at 3 o'clock in San Antonio. So thank everybody for joining and look forward to seeing you again, and Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Thank you so much, John, for sharing all of this with us.
Welcome, welcome. I hope I did not see the other presentation, so I hope I wasn't repeating what someone had said in the past.
No, you not at all.
Okay, okay. All right. Thanks very much.
So that's great.
All right.
Thank you.